Wow, you guys look beautiful out there. Give yourself a round of applause. So, speaking of good looks, out of the 10 presenters here tonight, I just found out that I was voted the second best looking. I was excited for a bit until I found out that the other 9 tied for first. Thankfully, good looks were not a requirement when I was asked to run rivers in Siberia as part of a river exploration program in the old Soviet Union 30 years ago. The only thing that was required was blind faith because we had to get there by these second-hand helicopters. The Soviet Union at this time was still very much a communist country. People were afraid to speak their mind. People couldn't travel freely. But away from the government, we found that we could grow to trust our Russian cohorts, the other river guides, and we came to live and work on the river in peace, which was way different than when we were in Moscow. And I asked an older woman if I could talk to her about her life there, and she said, please leave me alone. She begged with me to leave her alone because she was afraid the authorities would punish her. At that point, I realized there was a huge contrast between heart-to-heart cultures where you could trust people and collaborate like on a river versus head-to-head cultures where people had to live in fear and anxiety and anger. We're born to trust and we're taught to fear. We're born to trust and we're taught to fear by the merchants of fear who want to capitalize on us in the media, with politics, insurance, and they want to capitalize on us at our expense. But I've marveled at communities who have chosen to ignore the merchants of fear, who have embraced kindness, who have embraced heart-to-heart approaches as opposed to head-to-head approaches. These type of communities flourish. So the first step to creating a heart-to-heart versus a head-to-head culture is you have to choose trust over fear, discounting the merchants and the economics of fear. Also, to see the world with your own eyes as opposed to through their lens. These people were recently voted as among the top 100 most admired people on earth over the last 100 years. I'd like for you now to yell out the values or the characteristics that you think these people have, or that people in your life that you admire have. Just yell out some characteristics or values. Clarity, humor, compassion, trust. Awesome. Great, great. So the reason that we admire these people is because they do good things and they do right. They make our communities much, much better. They make the world better. And we all should embrace heart-to-heart approaches by embracing and following good values, by leading with good values. For a long time, I owned a rafting company that did trips all over the world. And we operated with these values. Then I started a commercial real estate company, and we didn't embrace these values in an industry that simply is driven largely by greed. I realized that it was driving me crazy, and I almost walked away. I was a hypocrite. I was a total hypocrite. And then I thought to myself, wait, I can change this. So I changed our business. Together with our team, we now embrace these cultures in a heart-driven way. The second key to building heart-to-heart communities is to lead with your values. Always lead with your values and do what's right. Don't dissect what's right. Your heart knows what's right. Heart-to-heart conversations sometimes are thought to be safe or carefree, but in reality, what really matters is being honest and making sure that you have the other person's best interest at heart. It's sometimes hard to tell whether a conversation is heart-driven, heart-to-heart, or head-to-head unless you're in it. And then you know whether or not it's heart-driven because you can feel it in your heart. You can feel whether or not you're creating a heart-to-heart community or a head-to-head culture. The one way that you can stop feeling another person's hopes or dreams or pain is to put your heart on the shelf. Let's face it, we have more than we need, and there's no reason to ever compete or get angry about not having enough. And the only way you do that is to put your heart on the shelf versus letting it shine through. When your heart shines through, you recognize that success cannot come at the expense of another. You also know that growth is a universal right. So the third way to create heart-to-heart cultures versus head-to-head cultures is to never put your heart on the shelf. Never put your heart on the shelf in any interaction or any relationship that you have. With you and you and you and you, and you, and you, leading with your heart, we can never be led astray. Please create heart-to-heart communities.